Hi everyone, welcome to my Chasing Time poetry vlog series. Today I'm going to be discussing a poem around the theme of In Memoriam / history, and the poem that I'm going to be looking at today and reading to you is called Looking into the Eyes of Ronnie Drew. To add some context before I read the poem, Ronnie Drew was one of the founding members and one of the frontmen of the Irish folk band the Dubliners. So they formed in 1963, there was about 5 or 6 of them. I can only remember a few of the names. There was Ronnie Drew, there was Barney McKenna, Luke Kelly. Ronnie Drew, who is the subject of this poem, he was one of the longest serving members of the Dubliners, and he had a very, very deep, gravelly voice, very, very thick Dublin accent. So Ronnie Drew had very striking blue eyes, and I was looking at kind of old videos and pictures on the internet of the Dubliners, and I kept kind of coming back to this, wow, he's got really, really striking eyes. And I've got such an admiration and such a love for that band and for my Irish kind of cultural roots. And I really wanted to pay some kind of homage to Ronnie Drew through the form of poetry. And I was experimenting with poetry at the time and trying to write something other than love and soppy stuff and depressing stuff. So I thought, well, I'd give this a go. So I'll read the poem now and then I'll have a bit of a discussion about it. Looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see a beauty possessed by few, a kaleidoscope of deep ocean blue, an era of labour and joyful song. Looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see an array of emotions, strength in unity and friendship, scars from loss and death's cruel touch. Looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see a calming current of aged waters, as if the Liffey runs through his body and he breathes and personifies Dublin city. Looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see those who came before his time. Kavanagh, Clancy and even Joyce, they all lived through the eyes of Ronnie Drew. Looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see the foregone, but never the forgotten. The rare old times of Dublin city, where the girls and the songs were so pretty. So the poem is quite free verse, but I have written in quatrains. I did include a rhyming couplet right at the very end, just for that kind of sealing off effect, and kind of emphasising my point being that, Ronnie Drew is kind of, at one point, I think he was known as the King of Dublin. And that's really the kind of message I'm trying to get across in this poem. So the main poetic device I use is repetition, and I use that by starting each stanza with looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see. And not only is that kind of, emphasising my point that I'm kind of viewing my culture and viewing this history of Ireland through this man, this musician, it's also kind of saying that he is a vehicle in a sense. He is the channel in which I see this through. So although I'm looking into his eyes, I'm also looking out of them and seeing what he saw. Throughout the poem, I kind of discuss the things that I felt that kind of embodied his life. The array of emotions and the strength in unity and friendship and the scars from loss and death's cruel touch. Ronnie Drew saw many of the members of the Dubliners die at quite a young age. There was Luke Kelly, who died in his 30s, I think of a brain tumour, early 80s. I've actually been to his gravestone in Dublin. So I say, looking into the eyes of Ronnie Drew, I see those who came before his time, Kavanagh, Clancy and even Joyce. So I'm referring back to other really big historical, literary and musical figures. Joyce, in James Joyce, the very famous author. There's Clancy and Kavanagh who were poets, and occasionally I think Clancy might have sang as well. Ronnie Drew took poems and took inspiration from each one of those in the kind of songs that he sang with the Dubliners. So I make use of alliteration in this poem. So we've got calming currents, and I'm doing that because I'm trying to be a bit musical in some sense. I'm trying to make it roll off the tongue. I'm trying to make it as kind of easy to read as listening to a song by the Dubliners might have been. Another device that I chose to use was kind of referencing other Irish songs that the Dubliners actually covered. So for example, I refer to a line from Molly Malone, which the Dubliners did do a cover of, Ronnie Drew did sing on, which is the very last line, which is where the girls are so pretty. But I've added where the girls and the songs are so pretty, because just before that I'm referencing another song that the Dubliners covered called The Rare Old Times. But that was again me trying to kind of pay tribute to this musician. So the rare old times of Dublin city where the girls and the songs were so pretty, and it's creating an image of this old Dublin and Ronnie Drew's Dublin, whilst also paying homage to the songs that he covered and the songs that he performed. A lot of the imagery that I've chosen to kind of create in this poem is about how, although Ronnie Drew may no longer be with us, he's what personifies Dublin. And I've even used the line, you know, as if the Liffey runs through his body, he breathes and personifies Dublin City. The River Liffey that runs through Dublin city centre, I'm essentially trying to create that comparison with Ronnie Drew and saying that is the blood that runs through his body. He breathes, he personifies Dublin City. He is Dublin. And it's linking back to that idea of if we look through the eyes of Ronnie Drew, we can see what Dublin is and what the heart of Dublin is. It's short, it's snappy, it's quite easy to read because it's got the repetition. It's someone that we don't want to forget. It's someone that we certainly think has a legacy. And so really, this poem is just a tribute all the way through to the old times, to him and what he stood for and what he represents now as we look back in history and how he has shaped modern Ireland and the culture of Ireland. I will see you next time. Thanks very much.